Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Discipline Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, EL Discipline. Unfortunately, my co-host cannot join us this evening. Personal issues, family, work. We have things going on outside of this. Social media, YouTube's not the only thing that people have going on, right? People got their own personal lives. However, we made it our word to give you content every week. And that's what we're going to do is Discipline Therapy Thursdays. We're also on major listening platforms, Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, Castbox, Overcast. Also, Stimulating Conversation After Dark. You see the shirt, merch, disciplinetherapy.launchcart.store/shop. Everything is in the description. Click the link to become a Patreon member as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, we know you keep coming back because y'all know you're fiends and y'all know what that means. We're serving you your dose weekly of Discipline Therapy where not everything is completely free, as we are on Patreon for a plethora of exclusive content for you to see. But what is free is judgment free, sucker free, censor free, sensitive free, and some liberty. God and the ancient ancestors are great, and that means everything else is straight. So go grab your wine, popcorn, and my favorite roll of blunt, but make sure the children are in bed. Why? Because we have sometimes that vulgar but soulful conversation. Prepare your mind to be fed. Light one up, inhale life, and exhale strife. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, you are tuned in to the Discipline Therapy Podcast. I'm here. All right, so today's is season 13, episode 139. How to identify triggers. I also have a special guest caller that's joining me this evening. Hello.
Hi there.
First of all, do you want to state your name or remain anonymous?
I can say my name.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Elizabeth.
All right. Do you go by Elizabeth, Liz?
I go by Liz.
Okay, cool. All right. So you're cool with either or?
Yes, I am.
All right. Topic. You heard what the topic was, or do you need me to reiterate?
What was the topic again?
How to identify triggers.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
okay. So how do you think for yourself personally, how you would identify triggers? Good triggers and bad triggers. Sorry to cut you off. There are good
Yeah.
triggers and bad triggers, not just bad triggers, or sometimes people get a negative connotation when they hear triggers. There are good and bad, but go ahead.
I think I'm a work in progress. I think I can identify some triggers, good and bad, but I'm still working on, identifying those that, may be bad for me or, the good ones. I mean, I'm working on the good ones for sure because I know that will better myself and also help me identify those bad triggers.
Me personally, how I would know is by knowing yourself, knowing about your childhood, knowing about your traumas, being at peace with it. It's mainly knowing yourself. We're gonna get into different traumas, different triggers, being at peace with your triggers, experiencing experiences, going through experiences. That's how you're gonna know what's setting you off, whether it's in a good way or a bad way.
Yes.
Um, Same thing with sexual triggers as well. Could be things that are arousing us emotionally, visually, um, psychologically, sexually.
hmm Yes, I definitely do have some triggers that are positive and negative when it comes to like, sexual activities. So I do recognize those and I'm pretty open when I am with a partner relationship and, letting them know what my guidelines or boundaries are, I believe, and then going from there so that way it can be a stronger, type of bond when it comes to sexual activities with a partner.
Okay. So food sense activities or triggers.
Mhm.
What type of food sense activities are triggers for you? Good ones and bad ones.
For food triggers, I mean, I'm open to trying new restaurants. I am pescatarian, so I'm not a big meat eater, but I'm open to like trying restaurants where they have different types of food. So if the person I'm with can, try, meat dishes versus where I will may not try them. But even cooking at home, like your recipes, or even, cooking with a partner, that brings out like a positive trigger for me.
Mm. How do you overcome bad triggers?
Bad triggers. I try to recognize them by just maybe experience, or maybe having gone through it before, and maybe taking a moment to step back and maybe take a breather and maybe not react right away, and maybe communicate that, that was a trigger for me, so that way that person or even myself can recognize it and not, feel the same way again if it happens.
Is accountability a trigger?
Yes, it is. I think a trigger of mine is, if I bring something to your attention that may be a trigger, and that person isn't willing to take the accountability and kind of just brushes over it or says it is what it is, that may be a trigger, because I might feel maybe offended or not taken serious about like the trigger that I'm letting you know I have,
What
or my
about
boundary.
accountability within yourself?
With myself, I feel like I'm 50-50 on accountability. I know where my accountability comes from. Sometimes it may take me a moment to recognize it and then maybe apologize, or, may not repeat that again. So that is a work in progress for myself as well, because, in the moment of heat, you may, do something that, you shouldn't, but then afterwards you regret it and apologize. But, sometimes that damage is done because you have triggered and not hold accountability for it.
Mm. So before I ask you this next questions, I wanna know if you know these terms. I wanna just
Okay.
ask you if you don't know these terms. So, do you know what a hardcore feminist is?
Um, I have an idea, more or less, of what it is. Yes.
Okay. Do you know what an alpha or masculine man is, or
Yes.
characteristic traits they possess?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Do you think it's a contradiction for a hardcore feminist to desire um or like want to be with an alpha dominant man or a masculine man?
I mean, I think it can be contradicting, just because I feel a feminist is so on point on, like, women's rights and women's, standing for women's rights, and like standing for what they believe should be, acceptable, and maybe like, wanting or desiring an alpha dominant, or masculine man is like something totally opposite of maybe what they believe in, or what they want people to support. So I feel like it can be contradicting, but also I can see where, you know, someone that's a feminist, that's, pretty hardcore, may want a really, really strong man that is very masculine. So I could see both ends of it.
Yeah, the feminine nature, she's gonna desire him, because he's gonna trigger arousal in every part of her female psyche, especially.
Hmm.
Um, will it be
Yes.
consistent? No, because of who she is. As far as the masculine man, alpha dominant, this is why it's a contradictory, because this is the main reason. In order for him to be that way or get to a pinnacle, whatever that type of
Hmm.
status, that moniker, to have those characteristics, he comes with certain standards within
Yes.
himself and people around him. Like he gets with women, doesn't let them just do whatever. He gets with
Yes.
women, it's not equal. And it's kind of like,
Hmm.
even if it's not stated, you see it with the actions. So those
Yeah.
masculine men, those alpha dominant guys, they they exhibit certain characteristics that turns the alpha feminist off. So I'm gonna give you an example because
Okay.
I like to educate people.
Okay.
If, and hypothetically speaking, if I'm boasting about my accolades or whatever, or I'm the best at what I do, everything I do, even if I've never engaged in it, I can study and then master it. A hardcore feminist might look at that and say, man, he's so cocky. I hate that. Because she has a
Mm-hmm.
competitive mentality. She
Yes.
hates that she can't do that. Maybe she hates that she doesn't have a dick as well. So
True.
she's gonna misconstrue that as cockiness versus confident. Whereas a more
True.
traditional submissive woman will be attracted to that and be like, "Oh, that's a confident guy. I love that." The hardcore
Mm-hmm.
feminist is very competitive, and like you said, not so much equal rights for females, equal rights for human beings. So
Period. Yep.
they're not even looking at male or female. They're looking at it as a sense of everything you could do as a man, I can do as well or even better.
Better. That
You
was the thing I was going to tell you about being submissive too. Like an alpha male is going to want a submissive woman, where a hardcore feminist may not give into that.
yeah, she may be
They may not
submit
believe in it. Hmm.
yeah, she may be submissive in one or two aspects, one or two environments. Maybe the bedroom could be the only way.
Hmm.
Or it could be the most subtle things, deciding where to go eat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she'll relinquish control in that, but not too much. Yes, you're right. So
Yeah.
that's where it will contradict. It won't be sustainable. The desire will be in and out because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, this man is bringing the woman back into her natural core energy. That's why she's going to be attracted to him beyond her control. But based off trauma and familiarity with her psyche, she's going to fight that.
Yeah. It's not going to work out. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think
Okay.
traditional women trigger people today?
I think they do. Yeah, they do.
What
Because
would
I feel
you
like traditional women, like I would consider traditional women like kind of being more old school, like being that submissive, like, the man's more hardworking and the woman takes care of the household. That's what I would feel traditional, woman to be. So I think that does trigger that there's triggers in that because a lot of people may not believe in that anymore. There's very few people or women that still practice that
I
these
was
days.
okay, I was going to ask you what are you? Are you conservative, liberal? Are you traditional, modern, um feminist?
I would say I'm traditional modern. I still, I was raised in a traditional home, so I feel that I have those traditional traits, but I've also, modernized myself by being a hardworking woman and not having to, depend on anybody. But I also want to show some type of love and caring and, care for my household and my partner. So I feel like I am traditional modern myself.
Do you think accountability triggers um people today, or it's just one gender the most?
Wait, say that question again. Sorry.
So accountability, do you think it triggers
Hmm.
everybody in a negative way? Like people that's not taking accountability, and I don't have to take accountability within myself, and if somebody's forcing me, that's a trigger? Or do you think it's just one gender? Like, do you think it's just men that it's triggered
Mm,
or women that it triggers?
I think it can trigger anybody. I don't think it's gender based. I think it's just maybe like we talked about, maybe people that have gone through traumas or experiences. So I think accountability can trigger anybody.
That's like going with both. Choose one.
Okay. I would say women. I think women because we are definitely more sensitive than men. So
I
yeah,
I
if I had to
appreciate
pick one or the other.
I
Yeah.
appreciate your honesty.
Welcome.
I don't disagree, so I'm not even gonna get into that. And I know
Sounds good.
why. It's a plethora of reasons why, because
Mhm.
this is the biggest reason.
Mhm.
When you are unfamiliar to something, it's gonna trigger you.
Yes.
That's a summary. So if and the prettier the woman is, that's not that's her kryptonite. Like she accountability, what? It's not even in her vocabulary. Never heard that
Yeah.
word
Yes.
before. Because
Yeah.
the it's like pretty privilege. right? It's like male
Yeah.
privilege, it's patriarchy
Hmm.
privilege, women privilege, it's pretty privilege. So women
Yes.
privilege, depending on her upbringing, the men she was with, fathers, perhaps uncles,
Hmm.
probably never had to take accountability ever in whatever.
True.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like I even teach accountability with my little niece. I have two nieces, but with my little niece, she's 4. Whenever I see her, one day she spilled the glass. I told her to carry it with both hands. She didn't listen. It
Yeah.
spilled on the floor. She's looking at me with puppy eyes. I'm like,
Oh,
"Why are you
geez.
looking at me for? Go clean
Yeah.
it. Go clean it up." So
Hmm.
I teach even her accountability. But we do that for women, right? We clean their
Hmm.
mess, and the prettier they are, we enable.
We
So
want to take
that's
care of them. Yeah.
yeah, that's the summary of that. It's not familiar, so it's always going to be a trigger.
Yes.
What's
I
triggering?
agree.
What's triggering for you in a bad way the most? Females aborting babies daily. What's going on in Gaza with the Palestinians and those babies, or women being graped? Like we like to
I
say
mean,
graped instead of the,
yeah. I mean,
other
honestly, all those topics are pretty triggering.
the
But I
most.
mean, the most I guess would be the females aborting babies daily. Because we are here and we see it more and we're living through it. And there's so many resources out there that I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why women abort children, child babies. I mean, I'm pretty open minded to it. I just feel that we have so many resources and options, and so for me, I guess that would be the most triggering. Although all of them, are pretty important and in our world right now, but that would probably be the most triggering for me.
All of them are triggering for me. However, the most I'm gonna say, guys, are the
Gaza, yeah.
Palestinians. The reason is
Hmm.
it's common. We hear of this daily. Yes, it's not good. It's
Hmm.
triggering, but we hear about grape. Maybe we
Yeah.
witnessed it and it traumatized us. Gave us
Yes.
PTSD when we were younger. Or we seen it in front of us, heard it from somebody close to us. We
Hmm.
heard about the abort. We've
Yes.
seen it, maybe experienced it. Um, the man maybe experienced it. She did it without my permission. The woman did it.
Hmm.
She experienced it. She's going through that trauma because she's
Yeah.
losing the child too. Maybe he forced her to do it. So many different circumstances. These are common.
That's
These
true.
are common. These things happen every day, whether it's a different country or in America, right?
Yeah.
It's not on the
Hmm.
news. It's hidden. Something happens. Woman goes into an alley. It's common. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not
Hmm.
promoting it.
Yeah.
What's going on with the Palestinians is like,
It's heartbreaking. It's
wow, like they're
heartbreaking.
not
Yeah.
hiding this. They're not
Hmm.
hiding it. That is
Yeah.
more triggering. You don't say nothing about this. This can happen to anybody. And you
Yeah.
witnessing
That's
it's
true.
happening.
Yeah.
You
And
understand
nothing's
what I'm
being
saying?
done. Yeah. Yeah.
That's for me
Right.
personally, that's more triggering because it's not like, okay, this is something that's every day. Now we hear about it or see it,
That's true. It's massive right now. It's
especially with the babies.
of women and children and babies, dying and suffering it's so much. Like it's outrageous right now. It is. You're right.
What's more triggering for you? A man having you go 50-50 on the first date, sex on the first date, or having to decide where to go eat or what to do as far as activity on the first date?
Um, I would say sex on the first date. That would be the most triggering for me. I feel like like I don't know, maybe my past experiences or not many, a couple. It's expected, and for me, I feel like you're still getting to know somebody. Obviously, if you're both feeling it and it happens, and by all means, nothing against it. But if it's like still getting to know this person and you don't know how you really truly feel, and you may want to date them a couple more times to figure out if it's something that if you're into that person, I feel like, you should be able to take your time. And I don't feel that it should be expected just to have sex on the first date just because you mutually met may have hit it off a little bit. I
Mm.
think it's okay to wait.
Me personally, I don't know if I can answer this because I've never done either one of these.
Yeah.
So I don't go 50-50. Even dating, like we're already in a relationship.
Hmm.
You're either paying the whole thing or I am. We're not doing
Correct.
50-50. So
Correct. I agree on that one. Yeah, I agree.
I've never done that. Sex on the first date, never done.
Okay.
Having to decide where to go eat or what to do on the first date, never let the woman do that.
Yeah.
So what's more triggering for me? They're equally triggering. I mean,
All of them.
I've
Yeah.
never done any of them. Or the last one, giving the reins to the woman.
Yeah,
Um,
I've experienced something about like going out to eat, and I actually canceled. Like I'm like ready to go out the door to meet somebody, and this person just can't figure out where we're gonna have dinner or meet, and I'm just like, I'm good. I'm gonna stay home. Like I'm not trying to have you take me out, tell me that you're interested in me, and then you can't even figure out where you want to take me out or where we should meet. I think
mm,
that's really, it's not attractive. It's unattractive, I guess.
mm.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Um,
they are all pretty triggering.
I think going back, I could say if I had to pick one, sex on the first date. I think
Yeah.
that going 50-50 on the first date, I wouldn't do it, but I can understand a man doing it. Like, I don't really know
True.
you like that, this and that. Where is this gonna go? I don't want to invest my money. I work hard for it. I can understand that. Especially today, I have an old school mentality, but I can understand that. So it's
Yeah.
not as triggering. The deciding where to go eat on the first date, mm, not as triggering. Like I said, I don't have a
Mm-mm.
problem with that. It's not as
Yeah.
triggering because there are guys who are kind of like, they don't know how to connect with women. So, hey, I don't want to approach with the aggressive approach or being too
Hmm.
assertive. I might scare her away.
That is true.
Maybe I want to value her opinion. I don't want to seem like a misogynist or male chauvinist. I might want to, but what does she think? So I can understand that. Like I said, I don't
That's true.
engage, but I can understand. The
Yeah.
sex on the first date is triggering because I believe sex is an exchange of energy. So you don't know that
Definitely.
person. It could be really, really good for them. You could turn them into a stalker.
Yes.
And it's like, damn, like now you kind of force it to be a one night stand. Because now you're
Yeah.
trying to get
Yeah.
rid of
Because
this
you're.
person.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to have regret anything, but you don't want to make that decision, and then it just turned out to be the wrong decision, and then you could have just avoided it by just waiting. Like you don't have to make the decision on the first date. You can wait.
yeah. Okay. Let's see. I got two more. What's
Okay.
more triggering? A male chauvinist, a male feminist, a liberal woman, or a conservative woman? So it's two parts. So you got to pick two groups here. One group is male feminist, male chauvinist, and the other group is liberal or conservative. What's more triggering
I had
in a
to.
negative way?
Maybe I would have to pick male feminist and a women liberal.
Okay.
I think I would choose positive, even though it sounds, I don't know, I guess it doesn't sound the best, but I would pick a male chauvinist. I would. Um yeah. So yeah, that's what I would pick.
Hmm.
What would
Um
you pick?
so what's triggering for me in a negative way is a male feminist. That's
Okay.
weird to me. Like, you're a disgrace to a
Yeah.
man. Like, it's weird. It's very weird. It's
Mhm.
like fraudulent. I don't believe it. It's not believable. It's
Yeah.
not realistic. You're going against your nature.
Mm-mm.
That's triggering for me in a negative way. Um, a liberal woman is triggering for me in a
Mhm.
negative way. Same thing,
Yeah.
going against nature,
Yeah.
and it's because of my old
Yeah.
school mentality, the tradition. But
Me too. I think,
to each
yeah,
their
I think
own.
because I'm traditional, like I said, I am modern, but I still have those traditional upbringings, or or habits, so I feel like that would be for me the same thing. Going against the grain, going against nature.
Mm. Are men more thirsty for sex or women more thirsty for attention? Last one.
Mm, I think nowadays it'd probably be women who are thirsty for attention because it's so easy to be out there. Like, let's take social media. A woman can post a half naked picture and get that attention very easily, very quickly. They don't even have to, leave their house. They can do it from home or from wherever they're at. So the attention is there and it's easy to get. So I feel that they can, want it more because it's easy to get it, and men, I don't know, I mean, men love sex, not that they don't, but I feel like having to pick one or the other, it would be women more thirsty for attention for sure.
I'm gonna agree.
Okay.
Women are thirsty for attention. I said this in a show prior. And this is not just one aspect or of attention. It could be major components involved. It could be a traditional woman who wants the attention of her dominant man, traditional
Mhm.
man. It could be she's she's trying to connect with him, so she's trying to do the things that he likes so she could get his attention.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It could be whatever her love language is. Maybe she has maybe she has a fetish for gifts. Like she likes
Mhm.
buying gifts. That's part of her love language. She likes to see her man happy, and she believes that that's gonna get like turn into positive reinforcement. So that's kind of like
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
and then you have the other ones, like the thirst traps online
Mhm.
and
Yes.
stuff, OnlyFans and stuff like that. Um,
Mhm.
so I believe that attention is a woman's currency. It's like their bread and butter.
Yeah,
You got different types of
I
women.
agree.
So the main objective is men. Like we want male attention.
Mhm.
Whether it's good or
Yep,
bad, we want male attention.
that is
That's
true.
that's pretty much what it is. The operative word is men. So it's like everything starts and ends with men. When it pertains to the woman. Um,
It does.
so I choose that more versus thirsty because I don't believe, and I'll reiterate, just like the last show, I don't believe men are thirsty for sex. I believe
No.
women are thirsty for sex more and love sex more than men.
Mhm.
Men are kind of just, well, let me reiterate, most men are kind of more so like, the pit bull with the pink thing hanging out. Very, very
Oh,
horny,
yeah.
lust. Let me get the lust on, go about my day, I'm gone. The
Yeah.
woman is
Mhm.
different. You first of all, it's very difficult to get a woman to obtain that level of climax. So when you can do that as a man, you're like a god. So
Mhm.
when you can do that, it opens the floodgates to
Yes.
more. So for women,
Mhm.
it's like a button, and they are also multi-orgasmic. Most
Yes.
men aren't. I need 20 minutes to maybe 45 minutes, maybe an hour to recuperate to go a
Yeah.
second round. Most guys are not
Yes.
even going a second round.
Mhm.
A woman
True.
might want more and more. That's thirsty. That's I love
Mhm.
sex. And it's a proven
Mhm.
fact. You can look this up. I don't have the numbers, but you can look this up because this is a fact. More women are prone to enjoy foreplay, especially when it's done right, than men.
I have to
So
agree
that
with that. Yeah.
so that means you love sex. You're thirsty
Yeah.
for it. So somebody
Mhm.
that's thirsty for something is kind of like an episode we had back in like season 11. Sexual appetite versus high sexual appetite versus high sex drive. High sex drive can be tamed. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you got it. She busting a few times. She's good. She knock out. Dick quill. She's knocked out from that.
Yes.
Go right to sleep, snoring, drooling, and everything. She
Yeah.
might she might be good the next day too. Might be good for the whole week. maybe win a couple of
Mhm.
rounds. The sexual appetite is like insatiable. Fuck the guy in the morning and then night. A different guy.
Mhm.
Maybe double penetration, like two guys at the same time.
Yeah.
It comes down to that. Thirsty
Yeah,
versus
women are definitely more thirsty. Yeah, I agree.
yeah. So it takes the right man to kind of bring that. You could have a woman who's been
Mhm.
celibate for a year. She meets the right guy, touches the right buttons, blows her back out, knows how to kiss her right, touch her right. Also, he's a verbal seducer, right?
Mhm.
Seducing her into submission. She wants it every day now.
Mhm. Yeah, opens up the
You
floodgates
understand?
basically.
Different for a
Yeah.
guy. He might not even
Yeah.
want it that day. You drained his balls. You know what I'm saying? You drained them
Yeah, of course.
for the day.
Yeah.
He's good. He's not gonna fuck
Yep.
that night too. He
Mhm.
might be good the next day too. You
Yep.
know, it's like the older we get as men, testosterone levels drop. So
Yes.
it's very
Mhm.
rare you get a special man who's still up there in age, 40s, over 40, 50, who still rock. You know, he's probably
Yeah, that
doing
sexual
things.
drive.
He's probably doing
Yeah.
things to build his testosterone.
Mhm.
Sunlight,
Yeah, that makes sense.
working, going out there, gym, eating right, um,
Taking care of himself.
taking care of himself.
Mhm.
But ultimately, it's more women. That's why I choose like women want
Mhm.
attention more than the thirst of the men for sex. And
Mhm.
even the attention can come in the form of sex for
Mhm.
for
Yeah,
for women.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah. So do you have any final thoughts? Do you have a problem with what I say? Do you like the show? Don't like the show? Your experience here today? What are your final thoughts on anything?
No, I love your show. I think you have great questions and great topics. We're all a work in progress. So, these questions, open up my mind and have me thinking about stuff as well. And every day I take the time to, think about what can make me a better person and a better partner. So, I do like your questions and topics, and I have no problem with what you said. We all have our difference of opinions. We're not the same people, so I have to, be open minded to that as well. And no last thoughts. I think that was pretty awesome, and I'm gonna have to definitely listen to more of your episodes to get caught up on a few topics.
Nice. Cool. Appreciate you coming on. I don't want to
Yeah,
keep you too long. I know you gotta go. But appreciate your
yeah.
time.
Appreciate you too. Thank you for having me on as a, I guess, caller.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
This is the final segment. So I'm just gonna go through some stuff of how to identify triggers, good and bad ones, how to overcome them. So first and foremost, how to identify them is by knowing yourself. That's the number one major component. Knowing yourself, learning yourself. Because once you learn yourself, you just will create certain boundaries and habit with yourself to grow and elevate. So that's number one. Number two, heal. So, you know, from the bad triggers, to each their own. What I may see as a woman's bad trigger, it may be good to her. And she's not causing harm to herself, children, society. It's it's good. Like fucking, I don't know, lashes or makeup or something like that. She may seem like that's a good trigger for her. I'm not, don't go OD on the makeup and stuff of that nature. It may be a bad trigger for me, but it works for them, right? They're not causing anybody harm and whatnot. This is just an example. So identify, learn yourself, build, create habit, use things to overcome bad triggers. For example, go to the gym, create a hobby. Um, go to therapy. Maybe you need somebody else, a specialist to help you identify, give you certain tools to help you get through there. Man, every year around this date, I get triggered because something traumatic happened to me, or this or that. Somebody passed away, or it was raining. Every time it rains, or every time it thunders, something traumatic happens. So there's always gonna trigger something. Maybe women start crying, guys, you start feeling depressed, stressed, or whatever. You can incorporate things to dominate in that circumstance. Going to the gym, um, going to events that are healthy, talking to other people, like-minded people, like maybe they went through the same experience, asking them how did they be you're successful, like how were you able, and you talk about your trauma, like we can relate. It happened to me too. How did you overcome that? Asking people, being humble and asking, um holding yourself accountable, um, uh, dictating the type of energy you want around you, that will also help to overcome triggers. Certain people are a trigger. I could be a trigger to somebody. Just my voice, just me talking in a negative way. The way what the things I say, my words, could be triggering in a positive way, sexually, emotionally arousing, mentally arousing. Um, and he's like, you know what? I need to be next to him. He's healing energy. He's too triggering for me. I haven't healed. I gotta stay away from him. So, you really need to know yourself. And when you know yourself, you'll be able to set certain boundaries and be strict on those boundaries to hold yourself accountable for you to not cross your own boundaries or let other people cross those boundaries. That's how you're going to overcome that fear, overcome those triggers. Um, and those triggers are the byproduct is like anxiety, depression, um, maybe causing you to do uncharacteristic or dumb things. Oh man, I got triggered by this guy. You know what? I'm gonna sleep with the next guy or whatever right away. I don't even need to know him. Triggering, revenge, a guy. I'm gonna plaster her stuff, or she sent me these things in private. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna, sleep with her best friend or do whatever. I don't know what guys do. Just throwing hypotheticals for both genders. So, part of this is the healing journey. And once you can heal, you will be able to identify those triggers. And even the bad triggers are good triggers as long as you can identify them and then kind of keep them in a cage. And then you know how to control them. So they don't control your character, they don't control your behavior and actions. Because sometimes bad triggers will lead to bad actions. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, you were tuned in to one of the most raw, intense, uncut, no holds barred, unapologetic, real discipline therapy podcast. Peace.